Hi all, Ross here, Thomas Classic and Modern. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks very much for watching if you've joined us. We are going to do a short little video today which really finalizes our series of a strip and rebuild of this classic mini MPI gearbox. This section of the video, almost a standalone section, so you might find it handy even if you're not rebuilding your gearbox. This is going to encompass setting the idler gear clearance. So here we have our fully rebuilt and painted gearbox ready to go. What we are now going to do, we're going to run through how we go about setting the clearance on this idler gear. So let's get stuck in. Right, so the first thing that you need to do when you're doing this clearance is you want to make sure that your dowels in the end of the gearbox are all nice and cleaned up and that the transfer housing itself slides on nice and easy. I like to do this without fitting the pilot bearing. Always remember to fit the pilot bearing before you final assemble. Only reason I do that is if this has got to come on and off a couple of times, you don't really want to run the risk of knocking the little rollers out of the pilot bearing. So first thing we're going to do, we'll take our idler gear and our idler gear shims. Now these are the original ones that were fitted to this gearbox. First thing I'm going to do is measure these shims to see what we're working with when we start. So we have a 134, just make a note of that, and a 130. 130. So that's what we're putting straight back in. So pop your idler gear shims onto the gear. I don't like to put any lubrication or anything on them at this point. Slot it into place. And now what we need to do, pop our gasket on. No gasket sealant because you're just using it for measuring purposes. And it is important that you use the gasket that you are going to use. So if you happen to damage the gasket or anything like that, or you tear it or something, you need to start again with this process. Not all the gaskets are all the same thickness. So once you've set this to where you want it to be with whatever gasket, you must remember to use that gasket. So next thing I'm going to do, we'll pop our gasket into place and hang that up on the two dowels. And then we'll get our transfer housing, offer that up, line it up, and just slide it on. I'll just spin that round a sec. And there we go. Make sure it's a nice, easy slide on. That's that. What you now need to do is put your bolts in around this gearbox casing and torque it up. You must torque this up when you're doing that measurement. 25 Newton meters, so we'll pop those in. And when I'm doing this, all I do is put all of the long bolts in. I don't worry too much about putting these bottom ones on, but just put all of the long bolts in. So the 5 inside the clutch housing and the 1 at the bottom. And then torque those up to 25 Newton meters. You could probably do this in time lapse. Mm. This bit, doing these up. Yeah, I can't now. Because it's talking all over. So we were going. Well, there we go. All torqued up. 25 Newton meters. That is as it would be in the car. So what we're now going to need to do is check our clearance on this gear just in here. Much the same way as we check the clearance on the main bearing retainer and the lay gear. So feeler gauges, and in this instance, it's nice to be able to do it because you've got a bit more access and it's the right way to do it. Feeler gauges either side of that gear. So let's get some feeler gauges and see what that actually is. Right, so the setting on this, or the clearance that's supposed to be on this, is between 3 and 8 thou. So first thing I'm going to do is go straight in with an 8 thou feeler blade. Right, it is, falls in there massively. So what I'm going to do is, let's go with a 9. And the easiest way I find to do this is get your feeler gauge in, and if you've got a set like this, you can flip the feeler gauges over, and it'll kind of hold itself in place. We'll come in with another 9 thou feeler gauge this side of the gear. And that's not too bad. So I will say that is 9 thou. So that is just outside the top end of the clearance window. So now take all of that back off and we go hunting for some thicker shims. Okay, so that's back apart now. We now have a 134 thou brand new idler gear shim that we are going to fit in here. So that basically means in this instance we're going to have two 134s, the original and a new one, and hopefully that will knock at least 4 thou straight out of that clearance for us. Now we put it back together and we remeasure. So rinse, wash, repeat. Righto, so that's our replacement thicker idler gear shims fitted. So same scenario again, recheck the clearance. So I'm going to go straight in with our, get it to balance in there. It's a thinner feeler gauge, this one obviously now. So that's our 4 thou feeler gauge in there. And we shall get another 4 thou and put it the other side. And hopefully we will be where we want to be. Okay, so second feeler gauge now in from this side. And that is a lovely sliding fit at, you might not see them in camera, but that is a lovely sliding fit of two 4 thou feeler gauges. So either side of the gear, so it holds the gear nice and square. 4 thou clearance, absolutely spot on. I'll take that all day long. Okay, so there we go. That concludes this little episode of shimming up your idler gear clearance. Hope you find that useful. Hope it helps you in some way, shape or form. That's the reason that we do these videos. And that actually brings a complete end to this little series of our strip and rebuild of a classic mini gearbox. So once again, thanks very, very much for watching. Thanks for all your comments on the previous videos. Please feel free to give us a like and a subscribe. It really does help us. We're desperately trying to grow the channel to get some information out there and hopefully help you guys along the way. So once again, thanks very, very much to all you guys for your support. Thanks very much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you very soon for some more mini related videos. Cheers.